You wake up, go to high school, and are in class. Suddenly, some men open the door holding guns and say they need to take all the women in the class somewhere important for their safety. You don't see them the next day, the next week, or even the next month. What do you know about what happened to them? How can you find out? My name is Alicia Fawcett, and today I'll be discussing the Boko Haram kidnappings of women in Nigeria, focusing on the coverage it has received in Nigeria and the United States. Some of you may have heard about this topic. I have thoroughly analyzed news stories, and I will review what parts of the topic are being covered, from what aspect, and theories as to why.
Nigeria's Boko Haram is a militant Islamist group. They promote a version of Islam which considers any association to Western society as being forbidden. The group regards Nigeria as being run by non-believers. It was founded in 2002 and only focused on opposing Western education when it first started out. There was a religious complex built that housed a mosque and an Islamic school. In 2009, the group started launching military operations in an effort to create an Islamic state. This consisted primarily of gunmen on motorcycles attacking police stations, government buildings, and anyone who criticized them. In addition, Boko Haram started bombing public locations such as churches and bus stops, even attacking the UN headquarters. Boko Haram was then designated a terrorist group by the U.S. in 2013. This was in large measure due to the escalating violence and state of emergency. There was also fears that the group now had links to other militant groups, such as Al-Qaeda. Attacks on villages and towns started occurring. There was looting, killing, and kidnapping of women and children. The men and boys were forced to join the Boko Haram army. The group drew increased international coverage in April 2014 when they kidnapped 200 schoolgirls. Boko Haram stated their intention was to treat them as slaves and marry them. Recently, Boko Haram has lost the towns it had under its control, and some captives have been freed. Fighters were killed and weapons seized. There are still many captives that have not been freed, however, and the group has proven to be resilient, so it remains to be seen if Boko Haram will fade away. Here's a look at the 3 research questions being analyzed. The first source I selected was The Guardian, a newspaper in Nigeria. I selected this paper because it is in English and an independent newspaper. It was established in 1983 for the purpose of presenting balanced coverage of events and of promoting the best interests of Nigeria. It states it owes allegiance to no political party, ethnic community, religious, or other interest group. The Guardian is a liberal newspaper. They state they will at all times uphold the need for justice and provide equal access to the nation's resources and equal protection under the laws of Nigeria for all citizens. The Guardian believes that Nigeria is a legitimate member of the international community, but holds that she can best fulfill her international obligations only if her own security and integrity are assured. The Guardian's logo is the ancient Egyptian symbol for conscience. The motto, "Conscience Nurtured by Truth," is inspired by Uthman Danfodio's saying, "Conscience is an open wound. Only truth can heal it." The other main source chosen to compare media coverage on this topic was CNN. CNN is among the world's leader in online news and information delivery. Staffed 24 hours, 7 days a week by a dedicated staff in CNN's world headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, and in bureaus worldwide, CNN relies heavily on their global team of almost 4,000 news professionals. I selected this source so as to compare the media coverage of this topic in the U.S. versus Nigeria. In addition, I took an informal poll among 20 of my peers, which will be discussed shortly.
After looking through articles and watching videos, this is what parts of the topic are being covered, from what aspect, and theories as to why. Standpoint theory seemed to be an apparent theory that came into play when analyzing this coverage. Standpoint theory is essentially people's perspectives. A standpoint is a place from which to view the world around us. Your day-to-day experience alters and influences your opinions, sometimes making objectivity difficult. Socioeconomic class, gender, and race are inequalities often used to observe different perspectives. In my research, I have found that the media audience, as well as those producing the content, are all subject to standpoint theory. While analyzing the articles from CNN, some common themes were found. Since March, CNN had 14 articles directly related to the kidnapping of women in Nigeria. The majority of them were regarding the anniversary of the event when 200 schoolgirls were kidnapped the year before. There was some discussion on the schoolgirls who had been rescued, but there was minimal discussion on any of the other estimated 400 women who have been kidnapped. Since March, The Guardian posted 12 articles directly related to the kidnapping of women in Nigeria by Boko Haram. From the Nigerian standpoint, you can see that this is still an issue of importance for them. The Guardian covers not just when the atrocities occurred, but also the aftermath and how the local people are struggling to deal with it. While the amount of coverage seemed fairly similar, to my surprise, the main issues being covered do vary. The Guardian focuses on more balanced coverage involving the political aspects at play and the daily struggles for women and how communities are affected. With The Guardian, this has been an ongoing topic, while with CNN, it seems to be covered when a major kidnapping event occurs. The Guardian tends to take on a more biased standpoint on how terrible Boko Haram is. This is understandable as it is in their day-to-day lives. They want to influence change. CNN focuses more on the plight of the women. CNN is missing the impact of the kidnappings. They're missing political aspects at play. They cover this using a more emotional appeal. This is perhaps so their viewers can see the story, feel empathy for the women, and then go back to their daily lives. To further evaluate and obtain an accurate picture of what parts of the topic are being covered and from what aspect, I took an informal poll of 20 peers. Of the 20 peers, one had lived in a Muslim country for 15 years, and another was from Nigeria. Out of the 20 peers, 6 felt comfortable enough on the topic to speak to it. The other 14 stated they did not know much and just knew that there were some kidnappings a few months ago on the news, and that's about it. Even those who were more familiar with the subject were not aware if the issue had been resolved or if it was still ongoing. What we can take away from this topic is that, from an American standpoint, the kidnappings of women in Nigeria were a sad thing that happened, and that once the coverage after the initial events happened, there was not really an interest in pursuing what the end result was. U.S. media saturation made it important to us when there were events and action happening, and so then we cried for there to be help. But once the U.S. media quit covering it, when there wasn't any action or events occurring, that's when it became an out of sight, out of mind type situation. From the Nigerian standpoint, the kidnappings are one part of a much larger problem in their country. So thank you for watching. I hope you have gained some insight and found value from the video on Boko Haram kidnappings of women in Nigeria. Next time you watch the news, I encourage you to pick a topic like this to follow, see what aspects are covered and how often, and then question why. Thank you.